I, 32, F, thought my life with my husband, Mark, 35, M, was built on solid ground. We had been married for 5 years. We both had good jobs. We had a plan for our future. It involved a house with a yard, maybe a dog, and eventually children. Our finances were meant to be the foundation of that plan. We had our own personal accounts for our individual spending money, the little things we bought for ourselves without needing a discussion. But the big things, the serious things, all went through our joint account. Our salaries were deposited there. The mortgage, the bills, the groceries, all came out of it. It was our shared financial heart. Transparency was the rule we lived by. We agreed on it from the day we opened the account. No big purchases without talking first.
No secrets.
That was the promise. The pressure started subtly. Mark began talking about money differently. Before, he was always a careful planner just like me. We would sit down at the beginning of each month and map out our budget. It was a team effort. But over the last few months, he became restless. He started talking about a big investment. He called it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. When I asked for details, he was always vague. He would say things like, "It's complicated stuff, honey. You do not need to worry your pretty head about it." He would smile when he said it, but his eyes were hard.
It was not the way he used to talk to me.
It felt like he was putting up a wall. His mother, Carol, did not help. She never thought I was good enough for her perfect son. She made little comments that felt like tiny cuts. She would say things at family dinners like, "It is so wonderful that Mark is such a good provider, able to take care of you." She said this knowing full well that my salary was almost identical to his. She wanted to paint a picture where he was the powerful one, and I was the lucky one he chose to support. Mark never corrected her. He would just give a tight little smile and change the subject. Her words started to echo in the things Mark said to me at home. He started to call our joint money my money more often. He would say, "I work hard for my money, and I should be able to invest it how I see fit." It was a slow poison seeping into our marriage. The ground gave way on a Tuesday. I remember it was raining outside. I sat down at my desk to pay the mortgage. It was the biggest bill of the month, the one we always paid on the first Tuesday. I logged into our online banking portal, clicked on the bill payment section, and entered the amount. I clicked Submit and waited for the confirmation screen. Instead, a red message popped up. Payment declined. Insufficient funds. I blinked. That was impossible.
I had checked the balance just last week.
There should have been more than enough.
My heart started to beat a little faster.
I clicked back to the account summary page. My breath caught in my throat. The balance was $97.42. For a moment, I could not process what I was seeing. The number just floated on the screen, nonsensical. It had to be a mistake. A glitch in the bank system. I refreshed the page. The number was still there. $97. Our life savings, our emergency fund, our future, all of it was supposed to be in that account. Thousands upon thousands of dollars.
Gone.
I scrolled down the transaction history, my hands shaking so badly I could barely control the mouse. And then I saw it. One single transaction from 3 days ago. A wire transfer. A huge, life-altering amount of money transferred to an account number I had never seen before. The description simply said, "Investment fund transfer." I tried to call Mark. His phone went straight to voicemail. I called his office. His secretary said he was in a meeting and could not be disturbed. I left a message, my voice tight and strained. I told her it was an emergency. I sat there, staring at the screen, the rain lashing against the window. The feeling of confusion was turning into a cold, hard knot of fear in my stomach. This was not a glitch. This was not a mistake. Mark had done this. He had taken our money, all of it, without a word to me. The promise of transparency was a lie. Our entire foundation had been a lie. And I was left with $97 and a future that had just vanished. Hours passed. The rain stopped. The sun went down. I did not move from the chair. I just kept staring at the empty bank account, the single transaction burning into my memory. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart leaped, but it was never him. It was a message from my sister, a notification from a news app. Nothing from the man who had shared my bed and my life for 5 years. The silence was deafening. It was an answer in itself. If this was a misunderstanding, a terrible mistake, he would have called me back immediately. He would have been just as panicked as I was. But he was not. He was hiding. That meant he knew. He knew what he did. Finally, I heard his key in the door. It was almost 9 o'clock. I stood up, my legs stiff. I felt strangely calm. The panic had burned itself out, leaving behind something cold and sharp. He walked in, humming a little tune. He was carrying a bag from a fancy restaurant.
He smiled at me.
Hey, honey. Sorry I am late. Long day. I brought dinner. He put the bag on the kitchen counter and started to take out containers of food. He was acting completely normal. It was the most terrifying thing I had ever seen. I did not say anything. I just stood in the doorway between the living room and the kitchen, watching him. He finally seemed to notice my silence. He turned around, his smile faltering a little. What is wrong? You look like you have seen a ghost. I took a deep breath. The mortgage payment was declined today, Mark. His face went blank for a second. Just a flicker. Then he rearranged his features into a look of concern.
Oh no.
That is strange. I will call the bank tomorrow. It must be some kind of error. He was a good actor. I had to give him that. It is not an error, I said, my voice flat. I checked the account. The money is gone, he sighed, a dramatic, put-upon sound. He leaned against the counter and crossed his arms. Okay, look. I was going to tell you. I just wanted it to be a surprise. I felt a bitter laugh bubble up inside me, but I choked it down.
A surprise?
You emptied our entire joint account, and you call it a surprise. It is an investment, Sarah, he said, his voice taking on that patient, condescending tone he used when he thought I was being emotional. I told you I had a big opportunity. This is it. I had to move fast. It is going to set us up for life. You just need to trust me. I looked at him, really looked at him. The man I married would never have done this. The man I married would have been my partner. This man was a stranger. Trust you? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. You stole our money, Mark. You did not invest it. You stole it. His face hardened. The mask of the loving husband fell away, revealing the cold, angry man underneath. I did not steal anything, he snapped. It is my money too. I earned it. And I am tired of having to ask for permission to use it. This is for our future. You are just too scared to see the big picture. I shook my head, a wave of nausea washing over me. Where is the money, Mark? Which bank? What is the account number? I want to see the investment portfolio. He laughed, a short, ugly sound.
No, you do not get to do that.
You do not get to question my decisions. This is my deal, and I am handling it. You need to learn to be a supportive wife instead of trying to control everything. I stood my ground. Move the money back, Mark. Move it back right now. If this is a real investment, you can do it from your own personal account. You do not touch our joint savings. I cannot do that, he said, turning his back on me to put the food in the refrigerator. The money is locked in. The deal is done. I knew he was lying. I could feel it. The way he refused to look at me, the way his voice was just a little too loud. Then you are telling me we have no money for the mortgage? For our bills? For food? I asked, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. He shrugged. We'll be fine for a few weeks. I will handle it.
Just stop panicking.
You are overreacting. He closed the fridge door and finally turned to face me again. His expression was one of pure annoyance. He was not sorry. He was not even concerned. He was just angry that I had found out. That was the moment I knew my marriage was over. He had not just taken the money. He had taken our trust, our partnership, and our future, and he felt nothing but irritation that I was upset about it. He had made his decision, and in that cold, quiet kitchen, I made mine. The next morning, he left for work as if nothing had happened. He kissed me on the cheek, a dry, meaningless gesture. Have a good day, honey. And please, try not to worry so much. Everything is going to be amazing, you will see. As soon as the door closed behind him, I went to work. The cold resolve from the night before had solidified into a plan. I was not going to be a victim in this story. I was not going to let him erase me. My first call was to my best friend, another Sarah, but this one spelled with an H. Sarah Hughes was a divorce lawyer. She was sharp, she was tough, and she was the most loyal person I knew. I told her everything, my voice cracking as I recounted the empty bank account and Mark's cold dismissal. She listened patiently, without interrupting. When I was done, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then she said, "Okay. First thing is first.
Do not panic. We're going to handle this.
He has made a very, very big mistake." Her voice was so calm, so confident it was like a lifeline. "What do I do?" I asked. "He will not tell me where the money is," she replied. "We do not need him to tell us. We will find it. For now, your job is to gather information. Quietly. Do not let him know what you are doing. Go through everything. Shared computer, files, mail. Look for any new bank statements, letters, anything with a financial institution's name you do not recognize. Look for emails. He got sloppy because he thinks you are just going to roll over and accept this. We are going to use his arrogance against him." I spent the rest of the day following her instructions. I felt like a spy in my own home. I started with our shared laptop. Mark was always careless with his passwords. I tried the one he always used, a combination of his favorite sports team and his birth year. I was in. I went straight to his email account. My heart pounded in my chest as I typed keywords into the search bar. Investment, transfer, new account. At first, I found nothing. He must have deleted them. But then I remembered the trash folder. And there they were. There were emails from a man named David Chen, who called himself a wealth management consultant. The language in the emails was full of jargon and promises of impossibly high returns. It did not sound like a real investment firm. It sounded like a scheme, a way to get rich quick. Mark had been wiring him money, not just the big lump sum, but smaller amounts over the past few months. He had been slowly draining our resources long before he emptied the main account. He was hiding it, covering his tracks. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. It was an email chain between Mark and his mother, Carol. It started a few months ago. Carol wrote, "You need to take control of your finances, Mark. You are the man of the house. You cannot let her hold you back from building real wealth. She is too cautious. She will have you both living a small life." Mark's reply was even worse. "I know, Mom. I am working on it. I have a plan to secure our future, my future. I just need to get everything in order first. Sarah does not understand these things. She would only get in the way." Reading those words felt like a physical blow. They had been conspiring against me. His own mother had encouraged him to deceive me, to steal from our shared life. She had fed his ego, validated his worst impulses, and painted me as an obstacle to be managed. The betrayal was deeper than I ever could have imagined. It was not just Mark. It was his family. They saw me as nothing more than a temporary inconvenience in his grand plan. I kept digging. I went through old credit card statements online. I noticed a recurring charge from a restaurant across town, a place we had never been to together. I saw charges for hotel rooms in our own city. Why would he need a hotel room here? Then I found the mail. Tucked away in a pile of junk mail on the hall table was an envelope addressed to him. It looked like a credit card offer. But when I opened it, a brand new credit card fell out. It was in his name only. The statement inside was for an account I knew nothing about. And the address listed on the statement was not our home. It was a P.O. box in a different zip code. I sat down on the floor, surrounded by a pile of papers that represented the complete destruction of my marriage. Mark did not just make a bad investment. He was building a secret life. The secret account, the secret credit card, the secret P.O. box. These were not the actions of a man trying to build a future with his wife. These were the actions of a man who was planning his escape. And he was using my money, our money, to fund it. That night, I confronted him again. I was calmer this time. I had evidence. I laid the credit card statement on the kitchen table. What is this, Mark? He looked at it, and for the first time, I saw a flash of genuine fear in his eyes. He quickly masked it with anger. What are you doing going through my mail? That is a federal offense, I did not back down. That is a credit card linked to a secret P.O. box, paid for by money from an account I do not know about. You have been lying to me for months. It is for business expenses, he said, his voice tight. You would not understand, it was his go-to line. The phrase he used to shut down any conversation he did not want to have. I understand that you are lying to me, I said, my voice shaking slightly. I understand that you have been taking money from us for months. I saw the emails, Mark. To David Chun. To your mother. His face went pale. He knew he was caught. But still, he tried to fight. You invaded my privacy. You had no right, he shouted. I had every right, I shouted back, my control finally snapping. It is my life you are destroying. My future. You are building some kind of secret life, and you are using our money to do it. We stood there, shouting at each other in the kitchen of the home we were about to lose. The fancy dinner he had brought home the night before sat untouched in the fridge. He finally broke. He slumped into a chair, his head in his hands. It is not what you think, he mumbled. It is just a temporary thing. This investment is going to pay off, and then everything will be back to normal. Better than normal, but there was no conviction in his voice. He was just saying words. He was trying to find a lie big enough to cover the truth. I knew then that there was no going back. There was no normal to return to. He had burned that bridge. And I was standing on the other side, watching the smoke rise. The next few days were a tense, silent war. We lived in the same house but moved around each other like ghosts. He would try to act normal, to make small talk about his day or what was on TV. I would give one-word answers. I was polite, but I was distant. I was a stranger in my own home. During the day, while he was at work, I continued my mission. I was no longer just sad or angry. I was a detective, and my own life was the case I had to solve. I took Sarah's advice and started documenting everything. I took screenshots of the emails between Mark and his mother. I took pictures of the secret credit card statements. I created a timeline of the smaller transfers he had made from our joint account to his secret one. A pattern emerged. The transfers always happened a day or two before he had a business trip or a late night at the office. He was not just funding an investment. He was funding a lifestyle. I needed to know more. The P.O. box was a dead end. But the hotel charges on his secret credit card were a clue. They were all for the same boutique hotel downtown. On a hunch, I created a fake social media profile. A generic name, a stock photo of a sunset. I started looking through the hotel's tagged photos on Instagram. I spent hours scrolling through pictures of tourists and wedding parties. And then I found it. A photo from a group dinner, posted about a month ago. In the background, out of focus but still unmistakable, was Mark. He was laughing, his arm draped around a woman I had never seen before. She was looking up at him, smiling. It was an intimate, easy gesture. The kind of gesture a person shares with their partner. My hands went numb. Seeing it was different from suspecting it. This was real. This was proof. He did not just have a secret account. He had a secret person. A whole other life he was living when he was not with me. The investment was not for us. It was for them. He was building a new future, and I was being written out of the story. I saved the photo. It was another piece of evidence for my file. I realized I could not do this alone anymore. The social media stalking felt dirty, and I was in over my head. I needed a professional. I called Sarah again. I think he is having an affair, I told her, my voice hollow. I found a picture. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Okay. This changes things. This is not just financial fraud anymore. This is a planned deception on every level. I think it is time we get some concrete proof. I know a guy, a private investigator. He is discreet and he is good." I hesitated. A private investigator? It felt like something out of a movie. It felt extreme. But my life was already extreme. My husband was a liar and a thief who was living a double life. "Okay," I said, my voice firming up. Let's do it. I gave Sarah the information I had. The hotel name, the P.O. box address, the woman's face from the photo. The investigator's name was Frank. He was a retired cop with a gravelly voice and a no-nonsense attitude. He told me he would get back to me in 48 hours. The next 2 days were the longest of my life. Mark seemed to sense a shift in me. My cold silence was replaced by a strange, buzzing energy. I was on the edge of something and he knew it. He tried to be nice. He brought me flowers. He offered to cook dinner. He suggested we go away for the weekend to reconnect. It was all a performance. He was trying to placate me, to manage me, to keep me quiet until his plan was complete. I played along. I smiled at the flowers. I told him a weekend away sounded nice. But inside, I was counting down the hours until Frank called. He called on a Thursday afternoon while I was at the grocery store. I ducked into an empty aisle to take the call. "I have something for you," Frank said, his voice low. "Your husband has an apartment. A one-bedroom rental downtown. He signed the lease 2 months ago. It is in his name only." My grip tightened on the shopping cart. An apartment. He was not just planning to leave. He had a place to go. "And the woman?" asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Her name is Jessica," Frank said. "She is a junior associate at his company. I have photos. They have been seeing each other for at least 6 months. He has been spending 3 or 4 nights a week at the apartment with her." He sent the files to my email while we were on the phone. I opened them right there in the grocery store aisle. There they were. Pictures of Mark and Jessica holding hands, kissing on the street, going into the apartment building together. They looked happy. They looked like a real couple. I paid for my groceries in a daze. I drove home on autopilot. I walked into the house we had built together, the house he was planning to leave, and I felt nothing but a vast, empty coldness. The grief was gone. The anger was gone. All that was left was a terrifying clarity. I knew exactly who my husband was, and I knew exactly what I had to do. I called Sarah and told her what Frank had found.
"This is it," she said.
"This is everything we need. He has committed financial fraud by using your joint assets to fund an affair and a secret life. He opened credit in your shared name without your consent. We have him. Now we need to decide how you want to play this." We talked for over an hour, mapping out the strategy. We went over every detail, every possible move he could make, and every countermove we would make. By the time we hung up, I had a plan. It was bold. It was aggressive. And it was going to be devastating. The breakthrough came from an unexpected place. While going through old bank documents, I found the original paperwork for our joint account. I remembered the day we opened it. We were so young, so full of hope. The bank manager had suggested some security features. One of them was a 2-signature requirement for any wire transfer over $10,000. We had signed up for it. It was a safety measure to protect us from fraud or a catastrophic mistake. Mark's transfer, the one that emptied our account, was for well over that amount. But it had gone through with only his authorization. He must have talked his way around it, or the bank had made a serious error. Either way, it was my key. The transfer was not just immoral. It was illegitimate. It violated the terms of our own account. I now had the full picture. Mark, with the encouragement of his mother, had been systematically draining our finances for months. He used the money to fund an affair with a coworker named Jessica. He had rented a secret apartment, opened secret credit cards, and was planning to leave me. The investment story was a complete fabrication, a cover story to allow him to steal the last of our money and disappear. He thought I was weak. He thought I was naive. He thought I would be so devastated by him leaving that I would not have the strength to fight back. He had underestimated me. I spent the next day on the phone. My first call was to our bank. I spoke to the fraud department. I explained the situation calmly and clearly. I told them about the unauthorized wire transfer. I referenced the 2-signature agreement on our account. I emailed them a copy of the original paperwork, which I had carefully scanned. The woman on the phone was incredibly helpful. She put an immediate freeze on the destination account pending a full investigation. The money was trapped. Mark would not be able to touch it. My next call was to the credit card company. I reported the new card as fraudulent. I explained that it had been opened using our joint financial information and our home address as a reference, but without my knowledge or consent. I told them it was being used to fund an extramarital affair and a secret residence. They took the claim very seriously. They immediately canceled the card and opened their own fraud investigation against Mark. His secret line of credit was gone. I felt a surge of power. For weeks, I had been the one in the dark, the one being lied to and manipulated. Now I was the one in control. I had frozen his stolen money. I had cut off his secret credit. He was walking around, living his double life, with no idea that the walls were closing in on him. I decided to set the stage for the final confrontation. I chose Saturday. Mark had told me he was going on a weekend golf trip with the guys. I knew from Frank's report that he was actually planning to spend the weekend with Jessica at their secret apartment. It was the perfect time. I let him pack his bag. I watched him whistle as he chose his favorite shirts. He was so happy, so carefree. He thought he was getting away with it all. He came over to kiss me goodbye. "I will miss you," he said, his voice full of fake sincerity. "I wish you could come, but it is a guy's only thing." I smiled back at him, a wide, bright smile. "I will miss you too. Have so much fun. Do not worry about a thing here." He looked a little surprised by my good mood, but he was too eager to leave to question it. He walked out the door, his golf bag slung over his shoulder. I waited 5 minutes. Then I started making my final calls. The confrontation was not going to be a shouting match in our kitchen. I wanted it to be precise, clinical. I wanted him to feel the same loss of control that I had felt. I started by sending him a text message. "Hey, I was just trying to buy some groceries, but our debit card was declined. So strange. Can you check on your end?" I knew our joint debit card was linked to the now empty account. It was the first little poke. His reply came a minute later. "That is weird. I will check. Probably just a system error." I could imagine him, sitting in his car, annoyed at the interruption to his grand escape. I waited another 10 minutes. Then I sent the next text. I tried again. Still not working. I called the bank. They said there is a fraud alert on our account, and it is completely frozen. "Did you get a notification?" This was the second poke, harder this time. His call came almost immediately. "What is going on?" he demanded, his voice sharp with panic. "Why is our account frozen? What did you tell them?" I kept my voice calm and innocent. "I just told them the mortgage payment bounced, and the card was declined. They looked into it and saw a huge transfer from a few days ago. They said it was suspicious, so they froze everything to investigate." "You should not have called them," he yelled into the phone. "I told you I was handling it. You have messed everything up." I let him rant. I let him spin out of control. "Well, it is okay," I said sweetly. "You can just use your other accounts until it is sorted out, right?" There was a brief silence on his end. I knew what he was doing. He was trying to log into his secret bank account on his phone. He was about to find a very unpleasant surprise. I heard a strangled noise on the other end of the line. "It is frozen," he said, his voice a choked whisper. "My other account. It is frozen too. I cannot access it." I could almost feel his world tilting on its axis. "Oh no," I said, my voice dripping with false sympathy. "That is terrible. How could that have happened? The bank must have linked the account somehow. What are you going to do?" "I do not know," he stammered. "I need that money. My whole trip. I need it." I decided it was time to deliver the next blow. "Well, you can always use your credit card, right? The new one you got for your business expenses." I let the words hang in the air. He was silent. I knew he was pulling the card out of his wallet, probably trying to make a small online purchase to see if it worked. "It is not working," he said, his voice barely audible. "It is saying the card has been canceled." I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment of reversal. I dropped the sweet, innocent act. My voice became as cold and hard as steel. "Yes, it has. I canceled it." He was stunned into silence. "What?" he finally managed to say. "You cannot do that." "It is my card," I replied. "No, Mark. It was a card opened fraudulently using our shared financial history, without my consent, to fund your affair with Jessica. I reported it. Just like I reported the unauthorized wire transfer from our joint account. The one that violated our two-signature agreement. I heard a sharp intake of breath. How do you know about Jessica? He whispered. I have a file, Mark, I said, my voice level. A thick one. It has photos of you and her. It has the lease for your secret apartment. It has copies of your secret credit card statements with charges for hotels and dinners for two. It has the emails between you and your mother, where she encouraged you to steal from me. He was breathing heavily into the phone. He was trapped. Every escape route he had built for himself had been sealed off. Every secret was out in the open. What do you want? He asked, his voice defeated. I want you to turn your car around and come home, I said. We have one last thing to discuss. He did not argue. He just said, okay. While I waited for him to get home, I made one more call. To Carol. Hello, Carol, I said when she answered. I think you should come over to the house.
Mark is on his way.
There is a family matter we all need to discuss. It is about his big investment. She sounded pleased. Oh, wonderful. I knew he would make you see sense. I just said, yes. You should get here right away. Mark arrived first. He looked like a ghost. His face was pale, and his hands were shaking. He walked into the living room and sank onto the couch without a word. He looked small and pathetic. The arrogant, controlling man from a few days ago was gone. In his place was a scared little boy who had been caught. I sat in the armchair opposite him. I did not say a word. I just waited. The doorbell rang a few minutes later. It was Carol. She swept into the house, a big smile on her face. So, did Mark tell you the good news? She asked, looking at me expectantly. Are you finally on board with his plan to secure your future? I looked from her smiling face to Mark's ashen one. Yes, I said calmly.
He did.
And you are a big part of it, Carol. Please sit down. She looked confused, but she sat on the couch next to Mark. She put a hand on his arm. What is wrong, sweetie? You look terrible. Mark just stared at the floor. I decided to begin. Mark has made a very significant financial move. I started, looking directly at Carol. He transferred all of our joint savings into a secret account. He told me it was an investment that was going to set us up for life. Carol beamed. Exactly. I told you he had a good head on his shoulders. You should listen to him more. I am listening now, I said. And I have also been reading. For example, I read the emails you sent him, encouraging him to hide his financial decisions from me. The ones where you called me too cautious and said I would hold him back. Carol's smile vanished. Her face paled. I do not know what you are talking about. Oh, I think you do, I said. I picked up a folder from the coffee table and opened it. I took out a printed copy of her email and handed it to her. She stared at it, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. And I also found out what the investment really was. I continued, my voice gaining strength. I took out the photos Frank had taken. I laid them out on the coffee table, one by one. This is your fault, she suddenly shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at me. You drove him to this. You were never a supportive wife. You were always questioning him, trying to control him. It was a desperate, pathetic attempt to shift the blame. But I was ready for it. Was I controlling him when he opened a secret credit card using my financial information? I asked. Was I controlling him when he violated our bank agreement and illegally transferred our life savings?
No.
That was all him. And you cheered him on every step of the way. I stood up. I looked at them both, this mother and son, partners in deceit. Here's what happens now, I said, my voice clear and final. The money Mark stole is frozen. The credit card he opened is canceled, and he is under investigation for fraud. I have filed for divorce. My lawyer will be in touch with your lawyer, Mark. You will not get a single cent more from me. The evidence I have ensures that. Mark finally looked up. His eyes were wide with terror. Sarah, please, he begged. Do not do this. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. I can fix it. I will end it with her. I will get the money back. His voice was pathetic, whining. It is too late for that, Mark, I said. You did not make a mistake. You made a choice. You chose to lie, to steal, and to betray me. And now you have to live with the consequences. I turned to Carol. And you? I said, my voice filled with a cold fury I did not know I possessed. You encouraged this. You fed his ego and helped him destroy our marriage. You are no longer welcome in this house. You are no longer a part of my life. Get out. Carol looked like I had slapped her. She tried to say something, but no words came out. She just stared at me, her face a mask of shock and rage. I walked to the front door and opened it. Both of you. Leave now. Mark stumbled to his feet. He looked at me, his eyes pleading. Where am I supposed to go? He asked. My accounts are frozen. I have no money. I gave him a cold, empty smile. I guess you will have to go to your new apartment. I hope Jessica is understanding about her new roommate being completely broke. He flinched as if I had hit him. He and his mother walked out of the house in silence. I closed the door behind them. The click of the lock echoed in the empty hall. I leaned against the door, my body trembling with adrenaline. And then, for the first time in weeks, I let myself cry. I cried for the man I thought I had married. I cried for the future that had been stolen from me. But as the tears subsided, they were replaced by a profound sense of relief. It was over. The war was won. I was free. The aftermath was messy, but it was a mess I was in control of. Mark's life fell apart with stunning speed. As I had predicted, Jessica was not interested in a broke boyfriend who was in the middle of a fraud investigation and a nasty divorce. She kicked him out of the apartment within a week. He had nowhere to go. He tried to stay with friends, but the story of what he had done spread quickly. No one wanted to be associated with him. He ended up moving back in with his mother, a 35-year-old man sleeping in his childhood bedroom. He tried to fight me in the divorce proceedings. He hired a lawyer who made loud noises about getting half of everything. But my lawyer, Sarah, was smarter and better prepared. We had the evidence. The fraud claims with the bank and the credit card company were both found in my favor. The bank reversed the illegal wire transfer, and the money was returned to a new account that was in my name only. The credit card company absolved me of any responsibility for the debt he had run up. When presented with the undeniable proof of financial and marital misconduct, Mark's lawyer quickly advised him to settle. He walked away with nothing but his personal belongings and a mountain of debt. Carol tried to wage a smear campaign against me within the family. She told everyone that I was a vindictive, money-hungry woman who had ruined her son's life. But I was ready for that, too. I sent a single, calm email to our extended family. I attached the key pieces of evidence, the email from Carol encouraging Mark to hide money from me, and the lease for his secret apartment. I did not add any commentary. I just let the facts speak for themselves. The response was immediate. The family was horrified. Carol was ostracized. Her phone calls went unanswered. She had gambled on her son's success and lost everything alongside him. I had a final conversation with Mark a few months later. He called me, his voice meek. He wanted to apologize. He said he knew he had messed up. He said he was a different person now. I listened to him, but I felt nothing. No anger, no pity. Just a vast, empty distance. I do not forgive you, Mark, I told him when he was finished. Not because I am holding a grudge, but because forgiveness is something you earn. And you have done nothing to earn it. You are sorry you got caught. That is all. Goodbye. I hung up and blocked his number. I saw Carol one last time at a grocery store about a year later. She saw me from across the aisle. Her face, which had always been so smug and superior, was now pinched and tired. She looked older. She quickly turned her cart and hurried away, avoiding my eyes. She knew she had lost. She knew that her meddling and her malice had only succeeded in destroying her own son's life. My life, on the other hand, began to bloom. I sold the house, the one that held so many bad memories. I bought a smaller place for myself, a bright, sunny condo in a part of town I had always loved. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during my marriage. I traveled. I took up new hobbies. I slowly, carefully, began to rebuild my life, not on the shaky ground of a partnership built on lies, but on the solid foundation of my own strength and resilience. I had a celebratory dinner with my friend Sarah after the divorce was finalized. We sat at a nice restaurant, the kind Mark would have said was too expensive. I raised my glass of wine. To new beginnings, I said. She smiled and clinked her glass against mine. To you, she said. You are incredible. You were a fighter. I am so proud of you. I felt a warmth spread through my chest that had nothing to do with the wine. He thought he could erase me with a bank transfer. He thought he could just move some numbers around on a screen, and I would disappear, leaving him free to start his new life. But he was wrong. He did not erase me. He just revealed who I truly was, someone stronger than he ever imagined. He had tried to steal my future, but instead, he gave me a new one, a better one. He erased himself from my life, and in the empty space he left behind, I found freedom. I learned that the best investment I could ever make was not in a stock or a property, but in myself. And the returns on that investment were priceless. I stopped giving warnings to people who showed me who they were. I started believing them the first time. They finally learned what it feels like to be small, to have their world shrink down to nothing, all because they thought I was not paying attention. But I was always paying attention, and I always will be. The quiet strength I found in that terrible time became my permanent shield. No one would ever catch me off guard again. I was my own protector now, my own provider, and my own partner. My future was mine to build, and this time, the foundation was unbreakable. It was built not on promises or shared accounts, but on the bedrock of my own hard-won independence. And it was beautiful.